My name is Marc Gopin. I'm a professor at ICAR and director of the Center for World Religions, Diplomacy, and Conflict Resolution. And I am proud to say that I am the partner of Hind Kabawat in our Syrian journey. There are many people to thank for this evening. My amazing staff, Scott Cooper, the managing director of CRDC, Aziz Abu Sara, the director of Middle East Projects, an amazing Palestinian partner of our work. Kladwa Barzinji did incredible work, and all of the staff, Jay and Mutsku, and many volunteers who all made this possible. So I want to now introduce you to a very special human being who really is responsible for the incredible dynamism and vitality and creativity of George Mason University. And I hope and pray that his spirit and his spirit of guidance of George Mason University lasts here forever, or at least until the end of my tenure. Because I really need it in order for me to be who I am and for us to do the work we do in this world. The president of George Mason University, Dr. Alan Merten.
Thank you, Marc, and thank all of you for your time and your attention to this important topic and your willingness to be here this evening. I've been president of George Mason University for over 13 years. When I became president, I was, like most other people assuming jobs, was given advice by a lot of people. But some of the best advice that I got at the time was from a man named Saul Linowitz. Some of you might recognize the name. Saul was very much involved in various negotiations over the years. And he said to me when I became president, he said, Alan, there's going to be something called presidential attention. He said, as a president, you're going to have called upon to do multiple events at the same time and the same day and the same hour, which I am this evening. But he said the ones you go to sends the message. The ones you go to sends the message that if you think that it's important. I'm here tonight because this is important. Because of what so many of you, and so many of you have done and are doing to improve the relationships between various countries, between the United States and countries in the Middle East and far beyond. And so that is important to me. I'm a computer scientist. I was a business school dean, so my knowledge base on what you do is, let's say, relatively limited, but what I see, what you do, really makes a tremendous difference. As President George Mason, I'm very pleased with what we are able to do in the Institute for Conflict Analysis and Resolution. We make a difference. We truly make a difference in so many ways, and so that I want to, those of you associated more broadly with that program, I want to thank and congratulate you. Secondly, Marc Gopin and his leadership in so many ways has made a difference. I think Marc is willing to step out and to make a difference in building relationships. And Marc, I want to thank you. Hind has become a friend when she makes things happen. I think I was just watching it just a few moments ago. She was making things happen over here. She makes big things happen. She makes the right things happen. On two separate occasions, once in the United States and once when I was in Damascus, I heard her referred to by people who didn't know each other, referred to as the center of civil society in Damascus. And I was really, that was heavy. What it may or may not be, and what all that means, it struck me is that she makes things happen, and that's what. So I'm very grateful that we at George Mason University have her associated with us, but also that she is being honored. Again, thank you for letting me be here. Thank you for what you're doing. I apologize, I do have to move on to something else, but thank you for helping in not only the issues that make these kinds of events possible, but thank you for your role in the world and in a sense making a difference. Thank you so much. We are both computer scientists. The first time we met, actually at a George Mason event, we were standing around and you socialize, and I introduced myself, Ahmad introduced himself, and I said, well, what do you do for a living? He said, oh, I'm the Syrian ambassador to the United States. And I said, I'm a president of George Mason University. So we then talked for a few moments. And we said,
nothing in common.
Nothing. I said, well, with that as a start, where do you go? And then I said, either one of us, I think, he said to me, well, what's your background? And I said, well, I'm a computer scientist. And I said, what's your background? And he said, well, I'm a computer scientist. we then had a conversation which said, which was stranger? A computer scientist becoming a university president, or a computer scientist becoming an ambassador? He won.
No. He won.
That brings me to our second words of welcome that I'd like to extend, and that is we're very honored tonight to have with us a person who's been extremely important to Hind and myself, who has been an inspiration to me as a man of enlightenment, and also has one of the most challenging jobs in Washington. And without further ado, I'd like to call upon the Syrian ambassador to the United States, Dr. Imad Mustafa, to say just a couple of words of congratulations to him.
Well, I didn't expect to be invited to give any remarks. What would I say? I'm here to congratulate Hind, or am I to commiserate with you? Because we have known Hind for a long time now. I have known Hind since I was a very, very young pre-university student at Damascus High School. I remember once I went to a lunch with Hind, with Hamza Al-Wadi, and with 6 other gorgeous, beautiful Damascene women. I was the only male in that lunch, and this is a very cherished memory that I will always keep in my heart. I don't believe that it has happened again since then. Hind, as you all know, is a troublemaker. She makes my life difficult. I am sure she makes your life difficult as well. Wherever she goes, she makes everybody's life difficult. But then this is Hind Kabawat. And this is the beauty of her. Despite all the problems she stirs, everybody adores her. And I can claim that she will continue to do this for a very, very long period of time in the future. This is the beauty about the danger de métier. You have to work with people like Hind. Having said this, because she's an old friend and a very dear family friend of ours, we enjoy the hazards working with Hind Kabawat. Hind is also a very, not only a social star in Damascus, but you need to know this because probably any one of you might end up visiting Damascus. Now there is a warning here. She has a splendid house in the old part of the old city, and she hosts everybody in that house. Even if she has remotely known you, you will end up being invited to her house in Damascus if you ever visit there, in Bab Touma. Or is it Bab Sharqi? Where would you? Bab Sharqi? Bab Touma? Between the old gate of Thomas and the old oriental gate of Damascus. And I think Professor Merten was there. I was there many, many times. Almost probably 1/3 of you were there. And as I told you, if you ever venture to Damascus, you will end up visiting her house there. Marc Gopin would know this. He actually, of course, you were a guest there, if I'm not wrong. So you would know how hilarious it's always been to be around Hind Kabawat. I am pleased, I am honored, I am humbled because you invited me to give a short set of remarks concerning Hind. I will stop here. As I have told you, Hind has always been a very old friend of mine, and we will continue to be friends for a very, very long period of time, despite all the problems she gives me. Thank you.
One more word of welcome from let me just read this. Good things happen because of commitment and dedication. Tonight I am participating with you in this wonderful celebration of achievements and hope while unable to be there physically present. It is a pleasure to speak through Marc Gopin a friend of many years and a pioneer in explorations, I didn't know this, that are transforming. ICAR is fortunate to have this work housed at George Mason. We have begun almost 30 years ago the path of inquiry and practice that is linking together people, dreams, and expectations with hard work. This is why I'm very happy that we are presenting CRDC's first Citizen Diplomacy Award to CRD Senior Associate Hind Kabawat. ICAR is proud of these accomplishments and ready to support future investments. Sorry to not be able to share with you, but delighted that on this occasion there's a recognition of both what has been done and what is coming. Dr. Andrea Bartoli, Director of ICAR. Okay, as we move on, we're gonna show an amazing film by filmmaker David Viorst, who is part of a three-part project that David and I did on unusual pairs of people who work together across enemy lines. And this is the first video of that series that was generously funded by the Fetzer Institute, a wonderful organization that funds projects on issues of reconciliation and forgiveness, and also funding a book that I'm supposed to write, which I haven't. It's just a little bit of pressure. But before we show the film, one of the traditions that I strongly believe in is it's in my latest book, and it's a big part of that book is about Hind, and it's about new approaches to peacemaking, and it's all on what's called technically social network, but really is about friendship. And so I'd like to ask you for just 2 minutes, and then I'm going to ask you to be silent, to find somebody next to you or nearby that you do not know, introduce yourself, and say hi. Go. Throughout our time together, you know, this is very much a Middle Eastern gathering. All the food is in the other room. I know that's difficult, but don't hesitate to go and come and enjoy the movie with food. So please come back and forth and take part in the wonderful food, but we're going to continue with the program. So, we want to present you with something. Come. This is the Citizen Diplomacy Award presented to Hind Kabawat on the 19th of October, 2009, in recognition of exceptional accomplishments and devoted service to peace building. The Center for World Religions, Diplomacy and Conflict Resolution at ICAR, George Mason University. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. John Quincy Adams.
Anyway, first off, please allow me to thank from the bottom of my heart the Center of the World Religion and Diplomacy for giving me this award. This award underscores all the good efforts this center is doing to make a difference and to support the dialogue and the peaceful movement in conflict resolution. I'm really honored to have all of you really today. It's like I'm very overwhelmed from everybody. I'm overwhelmed from His Excellency, my friend Imad Mustafa, for his kind word, and Rafib and Sidra with her Burberry jacket. Thank you for coming. And Jack Rupert and Nadira Shamlo, my friend, who are always a great supporter. I want to thank Farah Atasi. Really, Farah, thank you for the good food, for all your support, and all this nice decoration. It's from the Center of Information Center, and really thank you, Farah. Michael Corbin, I'm just honored that you're here. I know how much you like the Syrian people and how much we love you when we were here.
Has he been to your house?
He's been many times, many times. And Michael, actually, in the end, we decided to give him the Syrian citizen because we were all in love with him. As a matter of fact, there is like this fight, all the wives are so jealous from Michael because all the husbands will be sitting with him and he's being like the star, and we really like
It should
him.
be the other way around.
I
Wives
know.
sitting with
I know, but I don't know what happened here. I want, of course, Ayman Haqqi, my friend, and Mazhar Samman. He's always Mazhar. From the first day I'm here in Washington, he was always a great supporter. Maha Ad-Dura, my friend from Beirut, who came especially for this occasion, and I really thank you for this. Bashar Hilbawi, my old neighbor. Thank you, Bashar. We were neighbors, we were going to the lycée together, taking the same school bus, and he's here, so I really want to thank you too. And there is a special person, Subhi Randour. I'm really always amazed of all what you do here for Al-Hiwar. I'm thanking you for all the effort you're doing for this Arab community here. Like, whatever we do, any support, like this is the support should be going to you. Really, Subhi, thank you. And there is a special person here today I want to thank because you mentioned my website. So Najib Adi, Dr. Najib Adi, the famous dentist now in Washington, he was the first one who believed in me, and he designed my first website 10 years ago for free. Thank you, Najib. I know. Thank you. So I'm really honored by the center recognition of the role of citizenship and the role of diplomacy in bringing people together to make the case of peace among nations. And I remember what Eisenhower once said, if only people will get together, so then eventually will nations. My aspiration in achieving peace as a citizen of the world are constantly supported by groups of friends and colleagues to whom I can never thank enough for their encouragement. So today I'm fortunate to have 3 of my mentors here today. And this handsome Syrian American Munif, usually he's tall but he's always taking pictures, but I can't say more because Suha is here, so she'll get jealous. So Munif is always being a mentor. He always tell me knowledge is power. And I thank you, Munif, because you can remind me always of this, and that the power is capable of making us, as Jesus and Nietzsche said, love your enemies. He and I believe that love is contagious, and that we must analyze our conflict under the light of knowledge and imagination, away from ignorance and prejudice. Dr. Dawood Khairallah, my mentor. Dr. Khairallah always remind me, whatever you do, he's my living conscience. To start with, he's my living conscience. He keeps telling me, always, that whatever you do, try to look to yourself in the mirror and like what you see. Unfortunately, Dr. Dawood, I don't like lately everything I see as the age is coming soon, and sometimes it's more visible than my conscience, but thank God to Ayman Haqqi. Ayman Haqqi is here. So you should book me, Ayman, to solve this problem. So anyway, I assure you, Dr. Dawood, that my conscience is proud one, and your support is always visible, not only in the mirror, in my life. So thank you.
Barakallah.
And last but not least, Dr. Gopin. In Marc, I found a partner in citizen diplomacy whose approach to reconciling peoples in conflict echoed the word of Woodrow Wilson. Only a peace between equals can last. So I'm in debt to Marc's work and persistent offer to bring together the human face of the Arabs and show them as people of honor and dignity and people worthy of all human rights that others so freely enjoy. I'm proud that equality has been the foundation of my work and the friendship with Marc. So thank you, Marc. Ultimately, for me, however, my utmost inspiration has come from the great people of my homeland, Syria. As a proud Syrian, I believe that the Syrian people carry a big heart and great soul. So regardless of the complex and often confusing politics in the Middle East, the Syrian people have continuously demonstrated their big heart while ignoring the politics of the day. So, for example, at the time of the human tragedy resulting from the US invasion and occupation of Iraq, Syria cheerfully welcomed 2 million Iraqi refugees to share with them everything: food, shelters, and jobs, and also health care. And in 2006, despite the complex relation between Syria and Lebanon, and after the war of Israel, attacking Israel to Lebanon, also the Syrians opened their border and welcomed the Lebanese and shared with them everything, homes and their wallets. And after the war of Gaza in last January, again the Syrian people stand like rocks with the Palestinian brothers and sisters. So wherever I go, and whatever modest contributions I make, it's always with the hope that I can somehow help improve the lives of my Syrian people and the life of the people of the world who are suffering from the inequality and the inhuman treatment. So this award, I would love to share it with the Syrian people because they deserve it more than me. Finally, I really been blessed and privileged to work with amazing people. And I'm glad that exceptional people such like Fedwa, Scott, and everybody's here. They're like exceptional people, and we all share the same vision and hope to have a better tomorrow. To them, I want to thank them, a proud thank, because together we can make a difference, and together we can make a better hope and better tomorrow. So I just thank you for being here, and I am honored to be among this wonderful crowd. Thank you.
As we move forward, again, I want to extend my great gratitude to Farah Atasi for this wonderful food, and to the Barzintri family for their contribution of the great, fabulous food that makes us all come together. I also want to welcome and thank Joseph Monfil, the chair of the board of CRDC, who's been the inspiration of my life and my work. So he's here in our crowd tonight. I'd also like to wind things down with the voice of younger people. I'm not as young as I used to be. And I really want to have some reactions from a couple of people who are on the younger side of our partnerships to express their feelings about what you've done. So first I'd like to call on, just for 2 words, my honored Palestinian partner, Aziz Abu Sara, to just welcome him too, and also express her gratitude. Oh.
Palestinians talk a lot, so I'm not sure how short. Well, I'm grateful to have known you, and so far you haven't done a lot of trouble with me, so I'm still on the safe side. But when I think of your work and Marc's work, I think it doesn't take many people to build a bridge that millions will walk on, and you and Marc have done magnificent work into laying the foundation and doing a lot of work in that bridge that many of us and many of the people here, and I think millions of our own people, will walk on in citizen diplomacy and in peace. And to that, we are very, very grateful to you, and you definitely deserve this award. But I think also what you said in the video, and how you talked about love and you talked about compassion, and knowing you, I know these are not just words, but these are the way of life for you, and this is how you live. You are very compassionate and you are full of love, and I've seen it. I saw how you care for people, for everyone, and I saw how you care for my people, for Palestinians as well, and it touched my heart always. you mentioned at the end that your goal is to see peace between all the Arab countries and between Israel, and I think what you... and justice. Peace and justice. And I think what you're doing is gonna definitely lead to there, what we all here are doing, and this is very needed, but it will only happen if it can happen between all the Arab countries and Israel. And the idea is that one Arab country can have peace with Israel alone is just not gonna work, and we know that already. And thank you, and yeah.
Aziz mentioned the word love a lot, and it was amazing in the middle of our work. We didn't say this in the film much about how Hind is a very, very religious Christian, very passionate Christian. And we'd always have these discussions and debates about religions in our groups and so on, and a lot of good fights. And it was amazing how many times, in the darkest of difficulties, how much love kept on coming up as the key. There's so many times we wanted to give up, or there were people we just couldn't stand, and it was the love that drove us to say, no, just keep going, keep relating to everyone, keep bringing everybody into the circle, no matter what. And so Jesus came up a lot about loving your enemy, and very often I would say, Hind, remember Jesus? And she said to me once in the middle of our work, it was 2006, and the height of what the United States was doing in Iraq, and she said to me, you know, I'm born again, but George Bush is born again too, and I think I'm not born again anymore. Anyways, okay. I think that the hour is, there's a lot of good food to enjoy still, and please introduce yourself to more people that you don't know. Enjoy the food, enjoy the evening. Thank you so much for coming, and have a good night. Thank you. Thank you.